Joined here in the studio by Faik Tunay. He's a senior member of Turkey's main opposition party, the CHP, and also by Mehmet Solmaz, who's the news editor at the pro-government newspaper, the Daily Sabah. Gentlemen, welcome to the both of you. Faik Bey, I want to start off with you. An unprecedented message in Parliament we saw yesterday. What does it mean as an MP to get all four political parties together in unison?
I'm very sad about this, but I'm very happy about this message. But what I was thinking before coming here, if 2 days ago, almost 2 days passed, if this military coup attempt had been successful, who would have been talking in this studio? And what would have they said? Thanks God, we passed this, but now we should take lessons from the past and we should walk very self-confidently to the future. This message was very important. When I was in the parliament, I was always fighting for these messages because the polarization is high. And this polarization is not a good. But what I would like to say, the most important and the most brutal side of this military coup attempt was the bombing of the parliament. When I was elected as a second youngest member of the parliament, 2011, when I first entered to the building, the parliament building, I was very happy and I was honored to be there. But on 15th of July, when I was watching on TV, I was sad. And believe me, I cried. So they bombed the parliament. They bombed the national parliament of Turkey. And I'm still asking these questions by myself, how can they do this? They didn't only bomb the building of the parliament, they bombed our future. They bombed our dreams and they bombed our cooperation. Everything, you know, it was, I think, the most important and the most brutal side of this military coup attempt. But the message which was given by the politicians in the parliament was very important. For the first time after 3 or 4 years, I think all political parties, they gathered together and they gave a strong message. It is a very important step for our future, I believe that. And I hope this cooperation will continue.
We're going to talk about where we go on from here, but I want to ask Mehmet, this was a victory for the people, and it was a very unique event in the sense that President Erdogan made a call to his people by using social media. All the tens of thousands of people who came out, do you think it was in support of Erdogan, or was it in support of democracy, or both?
Well, I'd like to start with agreeing with Mr. Deputy, who said, like, Turkey is a polarized country. It has always been polarized, though. For instance, at the age of 11, I wasn't able to talk about my Kurdish background. Even though the country is polarized, it's only polarized on the political agenda. Different political parties represented in the parliament may disagree on political stuff. However, when it comes to the coup attempt, they all stick together again and show that, you know, they are there to unite against this coup attempt. And as you have said, President's call was perceived by every single one of the Turkish nation. All the people in Turkey took to the street, like majority. Obviously, there were people who were hiding themselves and waiting to come out next day, probably to your studio, and join the shows and explain how good the coup was.
I want to ask you both then, is this now a chance to end the polarization in the country?
I hope, as a member of the parliament, I don't know what he will say, it's a good chance. You know, as a nation, we don't take lessons from the past. But I hope and I pray, God, this will be a lesson for us. And this is not a message, this is not a support for Erdogan or AKP. If we support democracy, if we support the parliament, if we support the politicians, we should do that. You know, at that night on 15th of July, I put my picture with President Erdogan, which was taken 3 years ago, on Twitter. Some people, they wrote very bad things against me, and they told me that you were the ex-member of CHP, you were the former member of the parliament. How could you put a picture on Twitter with the president of Erdogan? But this was a strong support, not for Erdogan, for Turkish democracy, for Turkish parliament. Today Erdogan is a president, tomorrow he can be president, you can be or I can be president. So we should take lessons from the past, and I hope this military coup attempt will be a turning point for the Turkish democracy. All political parties in the parliament, they will continue to give these strong messages to the nation, because the nation, the regular citizens on the street, they need this. They don't want any quarrel, they don't want any fight, they need cooperation. We should do that. We should do that for democracy, and we should punish immediately the people who are directly linked with this parallel state, who are in favor of this, because otherwise if we don't do this, they will continue to make this after 2 years, 3 years or 4 years. This is the turning point for Turkey. we should punish them, and we should continue to have a cooperation among the politicians. So we should also continue to give a strong support to democracy.
Mehmet, so an historic opportunity. Where do we go from here?
Well, I think, in terms of looking at the Gulen movement's infiltration into the government institutions, it seems like the government is taking staunch steps to crush this movement, whose leader had given all his support to the military coups in 1980 and in 1997. If we look at Fethullah Gulen's history, we see that he previously written a letter of support to the coup plotters in 1997, and also wrote an article in 1980 is bringing some sort of like religious justification to the coup at that time, saying even if the coup was something bad for the country, those generals who plotted the coup are going to get some sort of like good deed written for them at the hereafter. We're talking about a shadowy, a really dangerous movement.
Okay, Faik, I want to also ask you, how do you evaluate the government's crackdown on the Gülenists post the failed coup attempt?
It should be like that. As I mentioned before, we should do like that. It's not important in the government, AKP, CHP or MHP. This illegal parallel state organization is dangerous for Turkey, okay? In the past, all politicians maybe, they supported them. But now it's finished. We saw how they are dangerous, and we should take lessons from that. But I would like to thank the regular citizens. Okay, I would like to thank to everybody, but almost the regular citizens. 1960, 1970, and 1980, in the past military coups, the people couldn't resist. But this time, for the first time, the Turkish citizens, the regular citizens, they went on streets, and they tried to stop this military coup attempt. And when these people, the illegal people, the ones who attempted this, they were afraid about this and they stopped.
Exactly.
This was a strong message by giving the regular citizens. So from now on, we should take lessons from the past, and especially in bureaucracy. This is very important because I was a former member of parliament. I know bureaucracy very well. We should take out all these people from bureaucracy, and we should give the post to the people who are capable of this and who have a knowledge, really deep state knowledge. So we should take out these people from the bureaucracy. It's very important. Otherwise, we cannot be successful. They will attempt again.
I'd like to add something on this. Like Prime Minister Binali Yildirim, he just gave a statement right after he became Prime Minister saying that the Turkish government is now going to increase its allies and decrease its foes. And that took place, that policy took place in international arena, like with relations getting better with Israel and also Russia. And now, like we see, as Mr. Former Deputy said, this is a historic chance for a country to come together. And President Erdogan, he himself personally called leaders of all political parties in the parliament, saying, thanking them for their support for standing against this military coup attempt.
Mehmet, Solmaz, and Faik, Tunay, we thank you very much for joining us here. Thank you very much.